It turns out that the campaign against Moscow was carried out with the money of the Kremlin schemers. It is this conclusion that suggests itself after Putin's confessions that PMC Wagner and Prigozhin's office Concord were financed from the budget. Until recently, Putin lied that the state had nothing to do with this, but now it turns out that it does, and how. You can take state money, train government prisoners on them to competently kill, and arrange a rebellion. Profitable and angry. But the main thing that remains behind the scenes and is carefully hidden is the split that struck the Putin vertical. Of course, they swear allegiance to him, as before, but the leader is not the same. He is cowardly and smelly. Even when dressed in clean clothes, it exudes a stench. Do not save even doubles, which he has like rabbits on the farm. But they are all bald and smelly too. Part of the gang no longer wants to see him in power and continues to demand the keys to the Obchak. Putin resists, because he knows that without these keys he is killed at the expense of 1. Together with children, mistresses, doubles, teas, adapters and extensions. Prigozhin's feint was done correctly. Firstly, they checked the leader for iron will. She was sagging, so much so that after the events, Putin began to curry favor with the Siloviki and depth experts. He even attracted doubles to the process. Secondly, we checked the readiness of the security forces. She turned out to be zero. That is, in principle, with 20 to 30,000 well-trained militants, it is quite realistic to move from the south and take Moscow. Or, at least, scare the hell out of the Kremlin and the entire notorious vertical. Thirdly, we learned that in fact only the brain-defective Zolotov and a couple of stubborn officials like Volodin remained loyal to the rat. Fourthly, they played Prigozhin's card, which has been threateningly growing in price lately. Now this is a broken joker, and no one else will take him seriously. The redistribution of his assets is visibility for uninquisitive eyes. All the candle factories and schematic enterprises of the bald ghoul remain in the hands of the same Kovalchuks who played the cook's card. Considering the fact that Korolev is still lurking in the shadows, who never plays in 1 or 2 moves, preferring complex combinations, one can assume that this is not the end. It was a chaos demo, the first act of a big show. Putin, indeed, sat too long, and thought too much of himself, indulging in all serious. And it would be fine if the adventure burned out, Ukraine caved in and the West retreated, but everything happened exactly the opposite. The ringleader has become toxic, and his outcast is extrapolated to the entire system, causing great damage to it. So it's time to get rid of the ballast. If earlier Putin was weakening at first every month, then every week, now he is politically decrepit day by day. The system is suffocating under the heavy burden of his political sins and perceives yesterday's idol as a guarantor of chaos, which is impossible to control. Of course, the numb leader still gives orders, posing as an iron chancellor, but you can't deceive the top of the gang. In fact, having given carte blanche to the security bloc, Putin completely surrendered to them at their mercy. And bandits with large shoulder straps are not at all cute. They need to bring the system out of the impasse into which it was dragged by a brainless genius. Because the states are already ready to give Ukraine long-range weapons, and this is a 100% loss of the Crimea, a lot of corpses, bloodshed and a guaranteed defeat in the war with dumping into a civil war. This is even more isolation, reparations, and sanctions weights. The ruble is already floating down the collector, towards the whirlpool, where it will merge in ecstasy with the Venezuelan bolivar. In the sewer itself, a deep seething of the masses is already brewing, which, if they gush, then Prigozhin's rebellion will seem like a review of the system and songs in a kindergarten. Given the rottenness of the system itself, its imbalance and weakening by the war, it will simply be blown apart from the inside. And I don't want to let that happen. The West can accept the reset, recognizing the previous period as a draft of a failed democracy, when a bald mistake crept into the solution of the problem. So why not take a chance? The stakes are too high. Far-sighted observers admit that the presidential campaign started with the Wagner Mutiny in Russia, completely cancelling out all previously approved strategies. Putin will try to dress up again in the kimono of the terrorist's mobster, but behind-the-scenes players can also remove the bald man from the race as a guarantor of chaos that will bury the cave.